Hi guys, welcome back to Tam and Chico. This is Tam and my co-host Tony. Sorry.
We're going to be reacting to Frank Turek again today, and we have scariest verse in the Bible, and does God's love make him punish us?
So I hopped onto the wise and all-knowing Google.
Okay.
And they said, I just want to make sure it's right. It's that individuals before a certain age are given mercy on the things that they had done. And is there any scripture that relates back to this idea? And is there an age estimate, like, of when that ends?
It's Isaiah chapter 8, I believe, talking about before the boy knows his right from his left, the right and wrong. But it's a boy. We don't know the age. And I think it's probably going to be different for every person, right? Some people mature faster than others. Like for girls, the age of accountability is 3. For boys, it's 37.
The second part to my question is if we don't know the age of accountability, is someone that maybe commits suicide or has an abortion before that age given mercy, but someone after punished or needs to repent more than the person before that?
All sin separates us from God, but not all sin is the same.
Okay. So here's how I understood it. There's kind of like, I don't even know where this rule came from because it's kind of stupid. If you're born into sin, you're genetically flawed from the get-go. But there's kind of this wiggle room where, like, if you're an innocent child and you stab someone to death, but you didn't really know that was wrong because you didn't have knowledge of good and evil, except for apparently you do because it's written on your heart, there's kind of some leeway, some wiggle room where, oh, he didn't know, it's okay. So if that kid dies, you know, a week later or whatever, then his innocence of not understanding the moral implications of his act, he's kind of forgiven.
That was actually something made up by the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
So that's an interesting thing.
There's greater commands, there's greater sin, there's lesser punishment and greater punishment. We have to get this idea out of our minds that all sin is the same. It's not. Obviously, if you murder somebody, just from our own common sense, you know, you're going to go to jail for life maybe. You're not going to go to jail for life if you jaywalk, unless you're in California and you're a Christian. Sorry. When you say mercy, do you mean God's mercy or do you mean the people, like the U.S. judicial system mercy? What do you mean?
God's mercy, like being able, like seeing that as a sin and like the division between like going to hell
yes,
or heaven.
Well, God knows. In fact, if you look at Luke chapter 12, Jesus is talking about, he's telling a parable to tell people what it's going to be like when he comes back.
The most tap dancey of the tap dance. No. This is the pastor equivalent to. So this one guy told me that guy told him whose brother told that guy's sister who wrote it in a letter, stuck it in a bottle, sent it down the river. Yep. I'm sorry, I get pissed off just looking at this man. I just staring at him.
Who had greater knowledge and did evil will be beaten with many blows. The people who had lesser knowledge and did evil will be beaten with fewer blows. And he says, to whom much is given, much will be required. That's one of the scariest verses in the entire Bible. Because in America, we've been given so much.
When you're giving a lot of information about morality, like, because let's be honest, the older you are, the more you understand social and moral contracts and all that stuff. Here's the thing. Why are we giving, like, if we're a Christian, like, why would we tell people about God and the morality of it? You get punished because you're sinless, you have sin regardless. But if you do sin and you weren't really taught about it, then you kind of get off the hook because no one really ever told you. It's kind of like, why have kids if they're going to be sinners? Like, why even teach them about morality if they're going to sin? Like, why
Yeah.
why not try to hide them from any knowledge of God? So then, when they finally die, that they get to heaven, and then like, oh well, God, I didn't know. Nobody ever told me this. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not gonna punish you. That's hard, or whatever.
Rebuttal every time to this. You know it. It's 2 words.
I don't know.
Free will. That's their rebuttal every time, and they say God didn't want robots without even thinking about the fact that if we go to heaven, there's no free will.
They scream free will while simultaneously screaming, I'm only going to obey God because he told me to. Robot beep boop beep beep boop. It's like, what?
There is free will within the Christian theology. It's just not possible. You can't have an all-loving, all-knowing, all omnipresent, all of those things, all the omni words, and
Right.
still have free will. It is not possible.
I don't think you can have free will even without a God. That's just my opinion. I'm hard determinist. I think every choice, every desire, every preference you've ever had has been completely manipulated outside of your control. Whether it was your parents,
I get
nature,
that.
your nurture, the environment around you. We take in information, and then we take that information into our brains. It computes it through chemicals, and then that reacts. The choice that feels free is the information coming in and saying, oh, I don't want to be stabbed, so I'm going to not put my finger in front of the knife while I'm chopping onions. But really, your brain is just saying, based off my preferences, based off of my nature and nurture, which are completely and fundamentally deterministic, I will choose to not do that. And that feels super free, but it's not. You've been manipulated by your nervous system, by pain. Oh, I know if I cut myself, that hurts, so I'm not going to do that. The choice there is a choice, and the will is there, but it's not free. It doesn't.
That sounds so poetic.
To even define free, like, what? That's like defining perfect. What does that even mean? Show me something that's 100% free. Show me something that's 100% perfect. It's like just trying to show me nothing. I cannot wrap my head.
It was something, free will was a concept. Of course, we know where most of this comes from, and it's actually not from the original theology. A lot of it was when Catholicism, the Catholic Church, put it into politics. So that's where all these batshit crazy loopholes come from. But what we're seeing now unravel before us is more information with technology, with the internet, and we have guys like this up here doing tap dancing with everything you said is true. It's just and I'm a soft determinist too. By the way, guys, that's proof that we don't have any dogma, no atheist religion. We can all have different viewpoints on things. Point being, there is no free will. There's no intrinsic. We're not special, guys. As grim as that sounds.
I've personally tried to steelman the free will position, and the closest I've gotten to is in some hypothetical, if you could time travel, you could kind of have some free will, but then at that point, you're just still basing your shit off of some preference. But like, if you did something, and you're like, oh, I could go back and I could redo it. And you changed the option. Well, you would keep changing it until it lined it up with your nature or your nurture of whatever preference you want, which to me is deterministic. So I just don't see that's the closest I've ever gotten to still manning free will. It just does not make sense.
Have you ever read the argument of free will? It's argument actually against the Christian God's even existence.
So they're for free will, but it's against God.
100 years
I've probably
old.
heard of it, but maybe just not.
Yeah. Well, essentially, what it says is you can't, just like I said, you can't have a God that's all knowing, all loving, omnipresent, omniscient. Omniscient. I can't say that word. But you can't have a deity, which is what Christians claim their deity is, right? All of those things.
Right.
But it is not. It is just not possible to have that and have free will. Those are two contradictory things.
I don't even think the God character in the Bible can have free will, because if it already knows what it's going
Yeah.
to do, then it
That's part.
can't do anything else than what it knows it's going to do. The quickest
Oh,
way
it's not.
to
It's
shut
not.
someone up about free will is
I
Christopher
know.
Hitchens said this was God gave me free will and I don't have any other choice but to use free will. Like, oh, that defeats the whole purpose of free will. You don't have a choice.
Especially right now, you can plumb the depths of all sorts of different Bible versions, Bible translations, Bible commentaries, books, commentary, all sorts of things to know who God is, unlike any other time in history. To whom much is given, much will be required. In fact, think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know that we have more access to God's revelation than the Apostle Paul had?
He goes through the list of all the different Bibles and all the different studies and all the different we have more God claims than the Apostle Paul. We have more assertions, many of them not lining up or agreeing with one another. So that's what we have more of.
Not
But
one
knowledge
of them.
of God, we just have knowledge of God claims. There's a difference.
Paul probably died before he saw some of the New Testament. He probably didn't see the book of Revelation. Probably didn't see the book of Hebrews unless he wrote it. He probably didn't see certain books in the New Testament written.
He probably didn't see Jesus road to
He did-
Damascus story, probably.
Paul never saw Jesus. Never, not once. The only claim, and like you said, it's a claim, is that he had a dream, a vision about Jesus. Paul never met Jesus.
Well, not a lot of evidence, but what were we expecting? We do this every time.
I know.
Maybe this one video. Maybe they'll no.
We have more information about God than the Apostle Paul. To whom much is given, much will be required. That's only fair, right? Get ready. Start using what you know to build God's kingdom.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Matt.
But you don't have anything. You just have
No.
assertions. You have a story. You have, if we even give it to you for sake of argument, anecdotal at best. At best.
This has been Tam and Chico. Sorry, Tam and Tony.
Thank
you. Thank you guys so very much for watching. We will leave our links down below. And tell us what you guys thought, what you want us to react to next. And we'll see you guys next time. Over and out.
One moment, please. If I could just have 1 second to say something before we... Oh.
I just wanted to do something quick
She
and
never
sweet.
lets me talk.